hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Still, they always play hockey. It never ends. I'm not going to lie to you. I was jumping on the show today, and Mike and Christie were already here, and they were having this conversation about Mike's kids looking at colleges, and Christie was talking about when her kids went to college. And I'm not going to lie to you, it scared the hell out of me because my kids are 8 and 10, and the first thought that went through my head is I am not ready for this conversation. I'm not ready to think about this. I'm not ready to do this. And then I kind of did the math. And again, I'm sorry, my son's 11 now. I messed that up. It's 8 and 11. That's not that far off when you really think about it. I mean, if we're talking about going to college at 18, and Mike will get into this too, because if you want to play hockey in college, you're not going to college at 18. We're really 7 and 10 years away when, I'm entering a point in my life. You guys will laugh at this, but 10 years doesn't seem that long anymore. It doesn't seem like a lot of time. It just seems like it's kind of right around the corner. So the question popped in my mind, and this is what the episode's going to be about today, for Christie and Mike to discuss really with me, right, and all of you listening, obviously. Two things. One is when you look at the end of the youth hockey journey, just kind of the end of the youth road, what would you maybe have done differently when the kids were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old? And then what advice do you have for parents in my situation? Because that really is not that far. And when you're in, mite, squirt, peewee hockey, you're in that world. And like right around the corner is college and other types of hockey or not hockey, right? There's a lot of different pathways here. None of them are correct. None of them are wrong. Right. So guys, I'm just going to throw it back to you. I'm here with my hands up. Please, sir. Please, ma'am. Spend your knowledge on me. Let me know what to do. What should I be thinking about? What should the other parents my age be thinking about? Aside from the fact that, we do actually have time, but what should we be doing
you don't
now?
have time. It comes up so fast. It'll be here before you know it. I can't believe when I look back how quickly the years, we hear that all the time, but it is so true, especially when your kids are into sports. It just flies.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, you have to enjoy the moment. We always say this, live in the present. Don't worry so much about what's down the road. But you got to think about it because as Mike is going through it now, before you know it, your kids have to make some pretty important decisions about what direction they need to go in. A lot easier for girls if they want to play hockey in college than it is for boys. As Mike and I were just talking about, it's pretty messed up for boys. It really is. Jump in, Mike.
Yeah, I think it's it's actually well, Christie's right. I mean, for years and years and years, like when you're a non-parent and you're just like a hockey director or hockey coach, and you talk about the whole process of youth hockey, and it's like, and every parent you talk to when they're 18 and 19, their 19 year old son or daughter, like, Mike, it's going to go quick. Like, yeah, it's going to go quick. It's going to be really fast.
Says that.
Yeah. I get, I'm sure it's quick. I'm sure you're, and I'm literally, it's like this time of year. And I think I talked about this a little bit is, just even getting senior portraits together and, putting together slideshows of a high school career or, and it literally feels like it was yesterday where you put your kids on the ice and you got obsessed with, a sport, good or bad. And, maybe you like me, you're all in, like, your life was revolving around hockey. I have kids that are 6 years apart. So like for me, there's a little bit of a cushion in there because I get to now just kind of reset a little bit, and go through the process again, I guess. But, the question of, what would you do? How would you prepare for that? How would you look at that later on? I mean, that's one of the things I think the most is the ability to look at this and understand how fast it really goes,
right,
and that individual weekends don't matter. Individual seasons really don't matter as far as like where the development process is, right. But it does matter about, did you waste it or did you make the best of it?
Right. Well, yeah. And is your family happy? Is it working for you guys? That's really important.
Well, and again, we could get into this, right? But I think for a lot of us in the hockey world, they're not helping our families manage this well. Like even people that want to have the best intentions of what the sport should look like, we're doing everything opposite to what that should be. So we all, again, like I get, if I'm reflecting back, for me, I wish I would have fought more for sanity and normalcy than I did, and I felt I fought a lot,
Yeah.
like
Right.
to the extent where it alienated me from a lot of people, like
Yeah.
in the
Hold on. Let me dive in because we're alluding a little bit, and I want to make sure we're specific for the audience so they know exactly what we're talking about. So just going back to the beginning real quick to kind of paint the picture here. For boys, the pathway to high level college hockey is no longer you graduate high school and go to college. And I'm
any
not sure
level
how
of
many
college
of you,
hockey, any
Yeah.
any level.
yeah,
of college.
that's not unfair, right? It used to be like that. You could graduate 12th grade and you're in
Right.
college and you're playing hockey.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how much of the audience knows that. That is not the way it is anymore. Typically, kids go to play 2 years of junior hockey. So they're usually 20, 21 years old when they're a freshman
Right.
to college. That is becoming, it's not even becoming, that is now the path for boys to college hockey. It's, I don't want to say widely accepted, but I see a lot of like nods out there from high school parents of like, if they're serious, that's what they have to do.
Right.
And the
Or
girls
if
game,
they're
not
in a
quite there
prep
yet.
school. Or
Right.
they're in a prep school.
Yes.
Right.
They're fifth year senior, right?
Yeah.
The girls' path is not exactly the same, but yeah, you
Right.
have to probably get to a high level prep school or be playing for a tier 1 organization. You
Mhm.
can join a team at 18, 19 years old in women's hockey still. That might be on the pathway to changing too.
Right.
It's
And-
it's definitely
Right,
changing. There's
and-
no doubt about it.
What's great about it too is because many colleges are now opening the door to women's hockey.
Yes.
And like in the case of Syracuse University, they had to open up a girls team because they needed to do that for is it Title IX?
Yeah.
So they had to do the equivalent. And that also opened the door for a women's club team.
Right.
We just won the national championship.
Yes, they did.
Syracuse University women's club team
Right.
won the national championship. So
So-
lots of great opportunities for women.
Well,
and I talked to some of the girls on the club team, and a lot of them had played Division I hockey at some point or D3. They switched over to SU and a club team because it got to be too much.
Right.
Because you also have to remember it's like a full-time job when you're playing
It
hockey.
might be worse than a full-time job. I'm not
Well,
gonna lie.
if
There's
you're
a
a
lot.
player, if your daughter right now is 8 or 9 years old, when they
That's
are
me.
when
That's
when,
me.
when they're in high school,
Yeah.
you will have to play junior hockey.
Well,
to play
Mike,
college
I was just gonna say too, like if we're looking 10 years down the road,
Probably.
and you look at what the PWHL is doing right now,
right.
that is going to be one of the fastest growing segments of
Mhm.
collegiate sports is women's
Yeah.
hockey. It already is.
Well, now there's a
right?
new junior hockey league starting up for girls.
There you
So
go.
so once that happens and the financial piece comes into play,
Mhm.
then everyone's going to want to have a 19U, 20U, 21U girls feeder program,
Right.
or college programs.
So
Mhm.
now listen, this is the why I set this up. And
Yeah.
for the audience listening, I think we know you pretty well because now your brains are going, well, how I got to prepare for that? Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Now everything's swirling in your mind of like, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know we needed to do that. All right. So the first thing we're going to do, and this is why I love the show, and this is what I know from learning from Christie and Mike. First thing we got to do is just hold up a second. Okay. That's why we're having the episode, because that started swirling in my mind. And I remember everything we learned from this show, which is, hold on, let's get our priorities straight. Let's figure out what we're doing here. I think you both said it right away. Stay present where you're at. That's the first step.
Right.
Kids 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, be there. Let's be there. Let's stay there. You don't have to figure this out today.
Right.
Right? But that's where the question came from. Now, as the parent of an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, now I'm asking both of you, what is the advice now to prepare for this? And I wrote down notes here. Again, hockey versus school, desire. Christie, you just brought up a great point. I think collegiate student athletes, I think it's more than a full-time job, right? I think it's harder than a full-time job. So
That's very hard. Yeah.
what are the things we should be doing to prepare our kids generally? And when I say prepare, gang, I don't mean prepare them for college hockey. You can't put that pressure on your kids right now. But what do we need to do as parents to go down that path?
Right. They need to prioritize school and their studies. They really do. Because
Right.
sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle. Oh, yeah, but we've got a tournament this weekend. Let's skip Friday. I know you have an exam. You really have to make it clear to the kids that school is your priority, getting a good education, working hard, making good friends, being socially responsible kids and good little people, good character education too. That is also important right now. You need to lay that strong foundation so that you can build upon that. Because if they don't have good grades, if they're rotten kids, if they're spoiled brats, they're not going to get very far in life. So that's the priority right now when you're talking about the 8, 9, 10 years,
Yeah.
10-year-olds. That
Well,
should be your priority.
and I don't think we do that well, Christy. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie to you, because I think
Yeah.
that school's easy to skip in
Yeah,
elementary school.
sure.
Because it's like, oh, what are you learning about? The truth is this, though, that look, let's be blunt. You're all going to skip the school for the hockey tournament.
Right.
We're all going to do it. I do it. But it's what conversations are you having with the teachers
Right.
when you do it? Because I always email. It's not, hey, we're going to be gone for a trip. It's
Right.
my kid's going to be missing work. I want you to send me the work that he or she needs to do. We will do it on the road or do it ahead of time. The other thing too is that, and the teachers have been really great at our district lately. There's a form we have to fill out now that they actually ask us to find some educational opportunities on the trip.
Fantastic.
And I thought that was great. So like when
And
we went to
make
Lake
sure
Placid,
you bring your kids into that conversation too.
Oh, we
And
did.
that they know that, yeah, you're missing school, but I'm not thrilled about this, but we're going to
Right.
make the best of it. And look, school is number one. So we're going to add some schooling on our trip. We're going to help. Yeah, exactly. Make
when
sure
we went to
we're
Lake
in on the
Placid,
conversation.
my son had to kind of report back on that, and
Excellent.
they made him kind of explain like, well, this is where I was. This is the historical significance, which is like, this is valuable, right?
That's
This actually is
great.
valuable now. It's not we're just going for a hockey tournament, and there is some
Right.
significance to Lake
Fantastic.
Placid. So that's one thing. Mike, let's sauce the puck to you. Look at you
Because
again.
we're talking 8 and 9 years old.
Yeah, we're talking.
Yeah, I get it, and I think
What?
Christie's right. Though.
Early.
From
Think
the
back.
school point of view, I love it. But also from the social point of view, like
Right.
you don't need to miss other kids' schools events. You don't need to miss other priorities in your life, activities for hockey. Like you don't now, and again, thank God for my wife, because I would miss all that. Like
Yeah,
I would just say Thursday morning we're going to some cornfield hockey tournament. You'll never see another human. You're only going to see hockey players in a hotel. There's no educational value to this at all. And we're going to drive you to drink for the parents, and we're going to make sure our kids are up until midnight, get up for a 7 o'clock game, and try to compete. Right. So all of this stuff is all great. But I think at the end of the day, at 6, 7, 8, 9, now there's so many parents that I come in contact with now that justify the hockey tournament as that other piece of social piece.
Yeah.
Like, well, we do, Mike, we feel by being in the car with our kids and going to Vermont for a tournament or a showcase, or going down to Florida for the Triple Elite invite, blue chip invitational, that is educational. 100%. Whether I like it or not, often those kids end up being the best players anyway. I mean, and that's fine. But I think for the rest of us, for the broad majority, and I think I guess going back to looking in a crystal ball a little bit, right? When your kids are 17 and 18, you see that all of them, except for 2, are no longer playing hockey anymore. Like they're finished.
Yeah.
And but what is their identity, and who are they, and what have you missed, and what haven't you missed? Like again, I think I've gotten a lot out of the sport from a social perspective.
Right.
I hope my kids have. But there's a lot of there's give and takes, there's sacrifices there. So at 8 and 9, don't worry, like you could give up a couple of things. And I will say one thing too.
Yeah.
As far as the tournaments go, it's literally criminal to pull kids out of school early. It is. I mean, I especially
don't love it. I don't love it.
Especially if it's a state-run tournament. Like at the end of the year now, you're seeing these tournaments like where I am, and these tournaments start on Thursdays and Fridays, where the kids are gone from school. This is a state-run, like this is an organization that you belong to, a conference, not a pay-to-play tournament weekend, not somebody that's pulling in a check. It's state-run programs that espouse all this BS about what hockey is supposed to do for kids, and then they have a tournament game on a Friday morning at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It is unconscionable to me.
I feel the same way, and Sophia went through this too. The state tournaments run Thursdays and Fridays. So I had to pull her out of school to get to Buffalo for the state tournament. And I think, what kind of message is that sending?
And then there's another 40 rinks that are empty. They're empty. So what do they say? Oh, it's because of finances. We have to do. I go, that's all BS.
No.
You could literally run 6 teams in this rink, 6 teams in that rink, 6 teams in this rink. Start them on Saturday, end them on Sunday. It's the same experiences there.
Well, and until teams stop going, that's not going to end. And that's
no, well, I know,
that's the stand you were talking about.
Earn the right at the end of the year to miss school for 2 days.
Yeah.
Where in fact, now again, I'm not like, think about when you're 8 or 9 now. This is like money. Like, it's like you're banking. Imagine when you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Every year for all these years, you've missed 12 days, 13 days of school, 14 days of school every year for 12, 15 years. And it adds up. And it just sets up a different standard. And people wonder why everybody's like, oh, hockey, like you see the jokes on Instagram all the time, right? Like, when you have a mom calling in Friday morning, they're like, oh, I gotta just call in. My son not feeling well today, and the lady, like, writing down, hockey tournament.
Yeah. Where's the hockey tournament this weekend?
And then we're lying. We're lying as parents.
Let's talk about that as a tip.
That's pretty ugly.
Yeah, don't lie. Let's talk about that as a tip. Don't lie. Because you're lying because you're afraid the teacher's going to say, like, they need to be here. And the thing is, I'd be more afraid of the teacher saying they need to be here and me not being there as a parent. Because, again, there's no game or tournament that's worth more than the school.
Yeah, and again, you get written up because it's not a sanctioned absence. So
right.
It's not,
so I'm torn about that a little bit, right? Because I do think you can get educational pieces out of all this. And I don't know if on a Friday, like, what I get upset about is if I make my kids go to school on a Friday and then I find out there was no teachers, half the class is gone, and they watch the movie. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That would really get me mad. Yeah.
This is where the actionable advice.
I'm like, I'm the only parent that's letting my kid into school.
Right.
Let me ask you
doing
this.
the right thing and keeping my kid in school, and it turns out you're showing a movie and there are no teachers there. It's a Friday.
Yeah. What? There's only so many times you can see Milo and Otis.
Major bird.
Let me ask this. Let me ask this to you, because I think there's some actionable advice here. Like, the lying to get out of school, I don't agree with that. I always try and have a really good rapport with the teachers. All right. And so we talk about it early in the year, like, Mike, you'll laugh at this, Christie, you too. Like, my kid plays hockey, and this is kind of what this happens during the season. And I want to work with you to make sure that, the enrichment from the education is going to be there all year. I've yet to have a teacher that was horrendous with that. We've had some hard ones, I'll be honest with you. All right. But I want the teacher that's going to say, kid can't miss school today. You have this thing happening. But they also tell me, per what you guys are saying, that, it's okay to miss this week. We're not really doing much right now, which is great. All right. Yeah. But you got to get on that dialogue. And the other thing that dialogue creates is, well, okay, look, there's a big test on Friday. I'm willing to give your son or daughter that test on Wednesday a little early, but they have to study for it. Well, now we're teaching the accountability that's needed to be a successful person. That's why those conversations are so unique. And look, every once in a while, you're going to get a teacher that says, your kid can't miss school. No way will I let your kid out for hockey. And look, that's adversity you're going to have to. We've all dealt with that with work. Nope, you can't miss today. Sure. You can't be sick today.
Well, that's a whole nother question. Like, how the hell do these people do it? Like, how do you leave work on a Thursday? Like, how do 15 families not go to work on Thursday and Friday? Like, there has to be people that are linemen, or they dig, or they have a physical job, or they're hammering or soldering. Like, does everyone have a remote job? I mean, I think when these tournaments put their teams, their schedules together, like, oh, these are all stockbrokers that work from home. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, who does this? And so again, 8 or 9 years old, it's not. I personally think you can miss a couple of hockey games, show up late, maybe show up Friday night, every once in a while, not to miss some important pieces of school.
Right.
Band night. Music, chorus, whatever. I mean, there's other things that are going on.
I got caught once. So we had a tournament in Toronto, and I didn't want to miss it, and my husband couldn't take her, so I called in sick, right?
How do you do that? You're on TV every day.
Right. So I made the mistake. We're up in Toronto. We're having dinner at Wayne Gretzky's. I don't know. It's the one with the hockey skate that opens up the door. It's
99.
Yeah. So I posted a picture of this door of the restaurant because I was so excited. I forgot it and called in sick. And I posted it on my Twitter account, which
Oh my
was
goodness,
it's my hockey Twitter
you're a
account. I think anybody
celebrity.
would-
What are you doing?
Yeah, you got to know better
I
than
got
that.
called in Monday. I got in so much trouble. If you're gonna call in sick and go to a hockey tournament, you probably shouldn't post on social media
Yeah.
Right.
where you are in Toronto. I go,
Or you gotta do
I
a
had a
remote.
sore throat. I couldn't
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. I can take a picture and have a beer. I just can't do the news.
I hope you were in the meeting like, guys, you don't understand. I can't.
Exactly.
All right. It's not because I was yelling all weekend.
The Wayne Gretzky whiskey is really good. It was helping.
It's rasping.
Yeah.
No,
So
like
parents
even
can get
we're
in
not
trouble too.
even we're not innocent with social media mishandling. Everybody thinks the
Yeah.
kids do that. You can't just post anything you want online. Well, we'll
No.
find that out.
Well, that's
sometime
what these
today.
kids do too, right? All these parents, they'll say like, "Oh, my
Right.
kid can't make it to one coach," and
Yeah.
then they'll post that they were at this thing. I'm like, how dumb are you? Like,
We know
why
what
would
you're doing. Yeah.
Oops.
like
I want to bring up another real point here. So let's just remind everybody how old, Christy, how old are your kids? I just want to give perspective here.
Yeah. Sophia's in her early 20s and Joey's 29.
There you go. And Mike, your kids are
17 and 11.
okay. So so just so you guys listening understand, when I came on like to this room today, Mike was talking about all the college visits and the schools that his kid wants to go to and what they're doing. And I mean, again, it scared me. Now, what I want to bring up,
me, and I'm in it.
yeah, it's a weird thing to watch. Here's the deal. A few minutes ago, we got to bring this up. You were talking about, kind of, Mike, you said, you alluded to it, like, oh, if you get past 15 and you get to this point. Now, the reason Mike said that is because, and youth parents really need to pay attention to this part. The burnout rate at 15 years old is astounding. I know you're having a great time with your kids right now, if they're younger. The burnout rate at 15 is crazy right now in not just hockey, but youth sports. Okay. But in hockey, it's pretty bad. And I believe, and you guys tell me, that is due to the undue pressure that we're putting on these kids. And when they get to 15 and they are staring at college, man, it's overwhelming. Do I play hockey? Do I go to school? Do I not go to school? Do I go play juniors? Do I even want to play hockey? Do I want to have a life? Do I want to do other things? Right. We're not doing the best job of preparing, I think, our kids for that kind of crossover, that threshold. Right. And I think it's because, Mike, you said this, if we're not careful, and some of the onus is on your kid too, don't get me wrong, we're going to put our kids in a position where they only identify as hockey players.
Right.
All right. And it's so important that they do other stuff. And I don't just mean other sports, band, orchestra, plays, writing, the arts. Find something in addition to hockey and tell your kid you're not just a hockey player. My son will freak me out from time to time. He'll say things like, well, people know me because of my hair, or people know me because my hat's backwards. And I say, that's not true. That's not true. But this is how a kid that age thinks. Right? That part of it's normal. And I say, you're not identified as this. You're identified by the person you are and the way you hold yourself. Go ahead, Mike.
Right, but we do that too as parents. Like, we're identified as a hockey parent. Like, you identify yourself as this
I'm a dad
person, right? But the problem, by other people looking in, they're like, oh, hockey tournament again this weekend. Oh, like, you're nuts.
It's crazy.
Like, but we just surround ourselves with other crazy people. Like, so to us, it's like a normal thing. Like, when you meet up for dinner on a Friday night and you've just traveled, 6.5 hours for a game. Like, I'm at the point right now, if somebody tells me I have a game somewhere and it's 3 hours away, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's nothing. Like, literally, I could go to a game, play it, come back, go watch Michael, come back. And a 3-hour trip is not even, like, I don't even think about a hotel at that point.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I can just get in. So, which is crazy, actually.
Right.
Like other people, like, what are you talking about? That's like a vacation. Like, that's like going away.
Right. And I did the same thing. Just the other day, because my son lives in Boston and we're in Syracuse, so it's 4.5 hours. And I was going to go visit him. And a friend of mine said, oh my gosh, 4.5 hours. That's so far. How are you going to do that in a weekend? I'm like, that is so easy.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I need a pee break now, but back, a long time ago, I could go. But I think it's just like one of those things where I think so going back to like, what would I?
What's the solution? Like, what? Give me the advice there, because you're making a good point.
You got to blow the whole system up. But I think there is no solution. It's you have to. I think you have to be strong enough. Well, you have to have a great spouse, I think, like somebody that's sane on the other side, like somebody
Yep.
that's not a hockey person.
Yep, I got that.
Yeah. So, and thank God for me too, because I was always like, okay, well, we have to do this. Well, why do we have to do this? And again, going back, if you knew me when my son was a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, I was the fighter. I was like, I'm not doing it. We're not going over a bridge. We're not going in a tunnel. I'm not paying tolls to go play a hockey game. There's 17 rinks within an hour radius of me. Like I'm not. And then what am I doing? I'm doing it. And you lose. And I think, that burnout rate too, that you talked about, Lee, that also is the parents. Like if your high note was an 8-year-old championship in Tampa, then that's tough. Like if your high note was making this team as a 9 and 10-year-old, that's like the highlight of your career.
I see that every day. And
I see it more so than not. I see it every day. I see it a lot. So,
and that worries me. Yeah.
But again, the only people we talk about, and again, I'm guilty of this too. The only people we see are the ones that squeak through, and the ones that had nothing to do with the parent, had nothing to do with the environment. They just
how about this?
Persevered. They were built differently than a different kid.
Right.
We're recording this episode during silly season, as we call it, which is it's eval tryout season right now when we're recording this. Now we did a whole episode on that. I'm not going to dive into that, but what I am going to dive into is, and the parents, this, the apprehension, the fear, the uneasiness of what team is my kid going to make.
Yeah.
Okay. And I see it rampant right now. And I truly, and I always attribute this to the show, I don't have those emotions about evals and tryouts. And the reason why is because I largely am not super concerned with what team they make at their age right now. Right? That may change when they're older. But for me right now, it's just you're playing a sport, you'll develop wherever you're at, and you'll deal with whatever team you're on, whether it's the team you want to make or the team you don't want to make. You're going to play on the team that you're selected for, because that's how life works.
Right.
All right. The other thing, too, is that I don't ever, and again, if I'm on a soapbox, guys, tell me, I don't mean to be, I don't ever want my kids to think that their value, especially for me, but probably more importantly themselves, is attached to how many A's are next to the team that they make. Right. That to me is silly. I swear to all of you listening, I truly believe this. And for those of you who know me, this is true. Okay. It doesn't mean I don't want my kid to make a good team. I'm saying to you that that's really not that important to me, because I don't think the letters are more important than what they're going to do with what they're given. That's the value to me. Okay. And again, when they get older and this gets a little more competitive, we'll deal with that then, because that's a different scenario. Because if you're trying to play junior or college hockey, then it does matter a bit what team you're playing for. But at 10, 11, it doesn't. And my final note on that, and I'll jump off it, is that if you as a parent are feeling that emotion, I'd say there's a 99 to 100% chance you're imprinting that by accident onto your kid. All right. If you're worried about what team they make, they're going to worry about it too. Even if you don't say anything, they're going to feel it. All right. Kids are like that. We were all kids at one point. Okay. So I think it starts also. And again, I always attribute what I'm about to say to this show. Okay. This show has taught me how to do that. You guys have taught me how to do that. It's not something I organically did. All right. It was, what are you worried about? Or like, I always love it. What are you playing spring hockey for? Lee, what do you think? Take off? Like things like that. Again, no worries if you're playing spring hockey out there. It's just me. But guys, am I wrong in thinking that like at the younger half, 12 down, it's like don't put so much value on what team you make. Don't put so much value on the letters after a team. Be happy you're on a team.
Yeah. Yeah. And you make the most of it, right? Now, my kids were so different. My son, his goal when he was probably 11 or 12 was just to make the high school hockey team. He knew where he wanted to go for high school, and it was tough making that team. So, okay. So what do we got to do to get there?
Love that.
Yeah. Do you have to play AAA? No, you don't have to, but we've got him on a good hockey team. Great coaches, great kids, super chemistry. He just nailed it on this one. It was a travel team. Honed his skills, got really good. But he also learned the importance of good nutrition, mental health,
Right.
how to separate,
How to work.
how to work hard. And grades, really important too. How to balance that, how to get your studies done, make a travel team. And there's a lot of pressure on the weekends, game after game, big tournaments and all that. Then when he finally made the high school team, it was pretty easy for him. And he did great. And it was a super team. So and then when he was done with high school hockey, he was done with hockey. Not done loving hockey. He still loves the guy. He's an encyclopedia to this day. He can tell you every single player, what their stats are, where the teams are at. He's brilliant. But he was fine going to college and putting hockey on the side, just playing for fun. Maybe, getting together with a couple of guys, skating on the weekends. And that was it. And it turned out to be super successful. He's got a great job now. Why? I think all of that we gave him early on, all those tools that he had in his toolbox as starting at the age of 9, 10, 11, playing hockey, have really benefited him now at this job that he has. It's just very intense. A lot of important scheduling and how to balance. He still goes to the gym. He looks fantastic. But I think all of that developed from those early on good habits that he learned as a kid, not making hockey. I'm not just a hockey player.
Right.
I'm a lot of things. I have a lot of talent.
Christy, did you enable that as the parent too? Like,
I
what
think we
messages
guided
did,
him.
yeah,
He
what
had
messages
that
did
drive.
you
You
give?
could see it. I
Right.
mean, he was a driven kid, but we helped guide him. All right, let's look at this team. This is a better fit for this kid.
Right.
Sophie has a totally different story. So you got to really look at your kid and figure out what's right for him, what's right for us as a family, and what's a good balance for this kid, because every kid is different. Personalities are different. Sophia wanted to play at a higher level. Joey had no interest. So you let them lead the way. Listen to them, guide them, provide them the support they need, all the tools that they need to succeed. Yeah.
It sounds like too that you cultivated the essence of what was developing them in hockey and not the hockey, which I love. I remember I was talking to a parent yesterday,
right?
He's like, my kid's in the garage all the time. He shoots all the time.
Yeah.
I said, well, make sure you complement that, because that work, because that kid's from what I'm told, like the kid's not exactly where they want to be in hockey yet. And I said, yeah,
right.
but that's the stuff that turns that down the road.
Exactly. Yeah. Right? It's their work ethic.
Yeah, Mike and I say it all the time. You could be a AAA 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old. It doesn't mean you're going to be a AAA 18-year-old or whatever that is, right? It's not, once you've made.
And you could be.
You could be. You might not be. You don't know. That's
like, but the core is what what Christie's talking about is really comes down to the essence of why we play sport, right? The core is that you learn all of these other things that are associated with, being a successful adult. Yeah. And working hard. Now, if it happens to coincide with being a great hockey player and a great athlete, that's great. Yeah. But I think my my fear, because now that I work with so many kids now that, like, I think Christy, I think you got through the gauntlet of the social media iPhone world. Like, I think you were right at the end. Like, you were at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
I think there's so many right now that I talk to that this FOMO and this device piece and this never-ending parental and player dance of what is everyone else doing.
Yeah,
is what it's doing for our well, forget about what it does for society, but it's doing just for a hockey player, a kid that's trying to play and a parent that's trying to support them. It becomes so much more layered, because now we're not only fighting me and my obsession and my kid obsession or non-obsession, but what we think everyone else is doing. And it is a very difficult thing not to do what everyone else is doing. It just is.
Yeah.
And because you miss that one, blue chip invitational weekend, and you think it might be
my career.
That might be over for you.
Yeah.
And that's how people think. And like you see, you hear this about players all the time. Like, you're willing to go to 12 tournaments in the spring when what you really need is a nutritionist and a mental health coach, like you don't need more ice time. You're good. But you
Yeah.
need all this other stuff that you're not getting during the season. Like I say it, especially if you're listening to this in the spring, like this is the time for development. This is the time to build on all these great attributes you may or may not have. But if you have an 8, 9, 10-year-old, it's like just understand it does go quick.
Right.
And what you do today, it sets up the table for the next couple of years.
Right. And it's always good to have, a good balance for your family too. As you were saying, Mike, it's so easy to burn out when you've got those crazy schedules and you're, traveling all over the place on the weekend and you're just feeling burnt. Take a break. Do what's right for your family, for your mental health, for each other. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. You got to do what's right for you. Seriously.
Well,
I
how
know
about
that's
this?
hard sometimes,
Huh?
but you really need to pull the plug sometimes and just say, hey, you know what? We need a break.
How about this too, Christy? It's just on the mental health front. If you need a break, you need to teach your kids through your actions,
Exactly.
right?
Very
And
good.
like
Yeah.
that your kids see that. Like, no, I needed a break this weekend.
Yes.
Right? It's okay to take breaks sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a message I don't hear anybody give their kids, right?
Right.
Of things like that. Like I just got back from a trip, coaching, ironically enough, on the West Coast, and I took a red eye home. And my kids got home, and it was a great. Don't worry, I spent a lot of time with them when I got home. But eventually, I said, "Hey guys, I need a little bit of a break right now. I really need a minute." Like,
Right.
I tell my kids that, like, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's not an angry. I need a minute. Get away. It's like
Right.
sometimes people, I need to decompress from it. You need to give me my space, and you guys can learn to do that too. It's a hard moment, but sometimes when my son especially is going through it, he'll say, "I need a minute." And it's like,
Good.
I always kind of back up when he says it. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
That's him trying to get control of the situation. All right.
Exactly.
Last question
That's
from
great.
me. Thank you.
You got another question?
Well, last thought
Fire
and
away.
question. I've been writing notes this whole time about this. There's this great saying that I've heard that the first third of your life, you worry about what everybody thinks of you.
Yes.
The second third of your life, you don't really care what people think of you.
Yep.
And then the last third of your life, you realize nobody really cared to begin with. Right.
That's where I'm at.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to get to that last third now in the middle of my life, hopefully.
Right.
And the follow up to that, and this is so funny because I mentor people all the time. It's that
Sure.
Don't be fooled by thinking that any of us know what we're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing, right? If there's anything I've become more sure of, nobody has it all figured out. None of us know what we're doing. And if you think you do know, life is going to remind you very quickly you have no idea what you're doing. All right. You have no control. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. For those of you Hamilton fans out there. Okay. You have no control, very little. And I think that's an important perspective to bring to this. All right. Because when it comes to our kids, we all want to provide them the safety of, hey, I know what we're doing. But we don't. And I think that the safety is in explaining to your kids, and this is kind of the question forming here for you two, that look, kids, on this journey, we're going to figure it out. That's the journey. We got to figure it out, the highs, the lows, but we don't know where we're going, and that's okay. I mean, I think the thing that scares me the most is when I meet a parent that says, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Play for this team for 3 years, then we're going to jump to this team. And we do this, and the college is going to come up and you're going to do this. And I've heard that. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like you have no idea what's going to happen from injury, from burnout, from talent. You don't know what's going to happen to you. You know what's going to happen to your spouse. Like,
I've done that. I've done that though. Like I've laid out like, okay, well, but again, what is like option A, B, and C? It can't be one path.
Yeah,
right?
but that's life planning. That's a good thing. Like, go ahead, Mike. Like that's the advice. You should. I should shut up. Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying that there is. I mean, you're absolutely right though. There's the side of I'm all in. This is what we're doing. Here's your path.
Right.
And then, oops. You never learn how to skate.
Yeah.
You can't skate. Like so oops, you like you're a really great baseball player. I don't even like baseball. Like so you can't be a good baseball player, but you love baseball, and that's you're hiding your bat in the corner, so I don't see it. Like so I think it's just a matter of you could have the goals and the vision and the path, but then you have to say, but what if, then what? Like, if this happens, what are we doing here? Or let's pivot because this opportunity didn't really come to where we want it to be.
Right.
But ultimately, if the kid and the parent are driving the end game, like, everybody, because you're never going to, and you say this all the time, Lee, with the kids you work with, like, you're never going to stand in a room and tell a kid he can't dream about being somewhere.
Yeah, I can't
right?
stand people do
So,
that.
so I was at a camp when I was coaching in college hockey, and there was a guy, one of our other coaches came up and like, okay, everybody stand up in the room. Okay, all of you are in the room. All of you sit down. Okay, this is who will play college hockey. And I'm going, these are 14-year-old kids. Like,
I hate
who
that.
the hell are you? Who are you to say that? And I think that's the same thing we have to be with our 8 and 9-year-olds. Like I want you to have a goal. Somebody's going to play pro, and somebody's going to play in college, and somebody's going to have a great career. And it doesn't, but that doesn't have to drive you all the way, but it needs to be a guiding light on how you determine it. Now, going back to what we said earlier, if you want to do everything you can not to get there, we do a lot of that. Like we do everything that you would say not to get. And we've interviewed how many people on the show that have said everything we're doing is going to not get our kids where we think the end game is.
Christie, I got to jump in just real quick because Mike said something. I think if I have any pet peeve in this game, and there's plenty to have, I get really pissed off when I hear coaches, parents, players, anyone say, "You're never going to make the NHL. We're never going to play pro. You're never." Please, for the love of God, do not tell your kids to not follow a dream.
Right.
Parents listening, it is insanely improbable that your kids will make the NHL. I know that, but why would you rob your kid of a dream? Right? Tell them the truth in the sense of, that's a great goal, and it's going to be really hard, and you're going to have to work, and there's no guarantees. Because when you tell your kid there's no point in trying, I mean, what the hell do you think that's going to do to them? You've literally just taught them to say, well, it's not going to happen, so there's no point in trying.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah, like what do you think that's doing to their psyche? Oh, it's too hard, so don't try. Anything worth doing is hard. And you're probably not going to succeed, but you will get so much further in trying than if you didn't. So again, I'm also not saying you should tell your kids, hey, you can make the NHL. You should never say that either. All right. But if their dream is, I want to play pro hockey,
right?
You don't say, well, you're never going to do that, or it's not going to happen. You say, that's a really good goal. It's a really hard goal. I just blows my mind. First meeting of the year. Hey, look, guys, none of you going to the NHL. What the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing? They're playing NHL 25. They're playing that's all they dream about is making the NHL. And you're taking that from them? And for what purpose? Like that's the other thing, too.
Yeah, what's the
I
motivation?
don't even know what that accomplishes.
Yeah.
Like you think a 12-year-old is going to compartmentalize that as, hey, coach gets it. Coach gets it.
Right.
Oh,
but, it's interesting because as they get older in their teen years, they start to realize what it takes. Because there's so much information out there. It's very easy to learn what is the path that I have to take if I really want to become, an AHL player, an NHL player. And you may be surprised to hear from them, I really don't want to do that. I don't want to go to prep school. I don't want to leave my friends. You know
and the
what?
kids know
I'm
they know where they fit in. Like I could be the sunshine guy all the time to my kids. Oh, you're right there. You're gonna make it. You're so close to doing this, or wow, you're doing awesome here. And the kids are like, what the hell are you talking about? Like I'm not even close. Like I skate with these guys. Like I'm on the ice with that player, and I'm like, that player was the best person I ever saw skate. Across from me. So I'm like. So and again, I think we do this as coaches as well, where there's a fine line, Lee, right, between pumping up and having reality. Like there's a fine line between saying,
look, let's just say it bluntly. I'm not bullshitting the kids. Like I'll say it bluntly, but I'm not going to ruin their hopes and dreams. I get so mad at that.
Sometimes it's the kids who have to ruin the dream for the parents. Like
that's a bold statement, but it's true.
I'm not good enough. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So you guys all watch the movie Varsity Blues.
that's a good point, because I'm not
Yeah.
like I'm living through my kids, like
Right.
like and not so much like that I want them to make it. That's not. I
Right.
want
No.
I want all
You're
I
enjoying
want
it with them.
I
Yeah.
just want we all want what's best for our kids.
Yes,
Right.
agreed.
And we see like, wow, wouldn't like, do you realize that this environment you could be in
Yeah.
could be a really cool environment? And then somebody will remind me, you know, that I'm
Yeah.
married,
Yeah.
say, well, they can have other things that will influence their life too.
Exactly.
I'm like, yeah, but that's not fun for me. Like, I want.
What do you mean the kid loves violin? We're hockey players.
Right, but I don't want to go. But I'm not sitting in the Boston Philharmonic. Like, yes, great, you're great. But you know, but I'm just saying, we all like just we. I've always come from the camp of I can help you more if I'm involved and I'm in it, and I
Yeah.
love it, and I want to help. And again, I'm not going to help, but it's so hard for me particularly to say, oh, you like that? Like, let me see if I can get into this.
Right.
Like my younger son loves chess, loves it. Like,
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't even know what a chessboard looks like. Like, I can't even
You line them up.
like,
What's a rook?
Yeah, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Checkmate.
Can they hit each other? You know, can they? It's
How
not
do you make a
physical.
1-3-1 out of these pieces? Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
a breakout, and he's
Yeah.
killing my night.
I tried the
But
neutral zone trap. It didn't work in this
But
game.
good for
So-
your kid that he discovered that on his own, not because
No, but
dad
then when
pushed
he's
him
with all the
into
other
it.
geeks, you know, playing chess, and I got to look and say, well, that's kind of cool. Like, that's a social piece.
Yeah.
And
Good
and
for
to
you.
me, then I look at all these great hockey players. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, these kids like you look at you see the behind the scenes of these other athletes. Like, when did they have time
Yeah.
to learn the guitar and
Right.
be a computer scientist and be a, you know, like, even look at, remember, you know, the guy we interviewed a lot, right? Like Mike Weaver, right? Like, he said,
Yeah.
when I was in college and the guys were partying, I was out coding. Like, I
Right.
was doing other things outside of the hockey world.
I'm
because
with you,
knew
Mike.
that hockey wouldn't be my whole life.
I was broadcasting. I loved broadcasting. But Mike, the key in what you just said, very passionately, by the way, that I don't
Well
want to be
done.
lost here.
My kids don't listen to the show. So.
Well, Mike, you said something pretty profound there, which is, hey, well, let me see if I can get into this other thing.
Right.
And there's so many parents and people who just, it's not that you don't do it. I don't know if we're thinking that way. Like,
Yeah.
like again, I joked about the violin. My kid plays the violin.
Mhm.
I'm not in the violin, but I'm at those concerts and I'm trying to learn and watch him play it. And I'm encouraging about it because it's something else.
Right.
Also, I think music is a pathway to intelligence in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But look, the thing is this, gang, you know, here's another truth. This is like a tough one to swallow, actually, is that the most passionate, horrible hockey parents that you know really love their kids, because if they didn't, they wouldn't even be there.
Mhm.
All right. That doesn't make them fun to be around. But the truth is this, they're passionate because even if they're living through their kids, they love their kids. All right. Like that's one thing about hockey parents, that there's a lot of different ways to define love, but you know, you're not passionate about it just because you don't love your kids, right? You just wouldn't be there. So we all got to find that pathway on our own. And I'm going to say it again, nobody knows what they're doing. But going back to your kid's never going to make the NHL, I don't see any value in that statement other than it's not worth chasing your dreams. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you tell that to a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, and they start thinking that way, by the time they're 18, why would they make it? Why would they even try?
Yeah.
Right, but
Right,
but at the same time, you can't be an 8 and 9-year-old, a parent of an 8 and 9-year-old, putting him in a program that says,
I
"I'm
totally
going
agree.
Right.
Like,
No, I
They
see
don't
that
need
too,
to
Mike.
be 8
Yeah.
years old on a AAA team.
Yeah,
Not
and Mike, I see that
necessary.
too. I see parents. I've heard. Look, let's use the 8-year-old. I've seen an 8-year-old parent tell their kid, "You're good enough to make it."
Wow.
Like, make what?
Yeah.
And it's like, now, look, it's a super fair point. The opposite of this, the opposite of you'll never make it and you will make it, is now you've created insanely unrealistic expectations for your
Right.
kid.
Yeah.
With also, by the way, you have no idea what's going to happen to that kid over the next 10 years. No
Right.
idea. I didn't expect to blow my shoulder out my senior year. Completely derailed college
Exactly.
hockey for me. Now,
Right.
thank God that happened, because I never meet my wife. I don't have my kids. I'm not sitting here with you guys. I don't go to become a broadcasting major.
Mhm.
That was the path that was handed to me.
Yeah.
And I'm at this point in my life, I'm so thankful for it.
Right.
Right. But I didn't see that at the moment, but that's okay.
Right. And that's
Right.
just life. You have to be prepared to,
Right.
pivot. And
Right.
sometimes life throws you some curveballs that
Right.
kind of tough to hit. So you got to figure it out.
I'm going to try and say this in one sentence. I would rather my kid and kids not identify their success through making it, whatever that looks like, and more so how they responded to failure.
Yeah.
That is life
Mm-hmm.
personified in the game. We say it
Right.
all the time. The ROI in this game is the life lessons. And if,
Right.
should your child succeed, I mean, again, Christy, your daughter did it. She went and played D1 college. All right. You know, should they succeed? Great. But your daughter is also one of the greatest human beings, your son too.
She is a great kid.
All right. Yeah, they're good people. I mean, they're
Yeah,
tremendous.
they are
Like
really
we
good.
won't get into it, but
Both
the
of them. Yeah.
things that Sophia does for you, your family, for people. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a tremendous human being.
Yeah, she
And
is.
she's not just a hockey player.
Right. And she knows that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And now she doesn't play hockey. You know, she's going to law school.
yeah, you know,
But,
trying something boring like law.
But again, I think
Yeah.
I don't play hockey either.
yeah. So getting back to just sometimes what happened to you, Lee, sometimes things happen and you don't expect them.
Yeah.
They put
Yeah.
you on a whole nother path and you can learn from that. So you got to figure out how to make the most of what life has.
You have to. And that experience, Christy, thank you. That experience taught me that. I mean, like it was like immediately NCAA teams that were talking to me, they were off the table immediately.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because of the nature of the injury. And it's like, I had to deal with that. And it was hard. And again, that's another episode. But
yeah.
My point is that my parents prepared me to handle that type of adversity. And my passion for the game pulled me through. I'm going to say too, I think if someone had told me younger, you'll never make it.
Right.
I mean, it's like, man, that would have turned that into more of a nightmare than.
Although you can turn those situations around. I'll give you an example. I was a senior in college, and our guidance counselor wanted everybody to put into a hat what you wanted to do for a career. And so she stirs up the answers. Of course, I put in, I want to be a television news anchor. So she pulls up, nurse, that's a great occupation. You're going to get a job right as soon as you graduate from nursing school. That's great. Another one, oh, an electrician, awesome career. We have so many electrical jobs here in Syracuse. Excellent. Another one, oh, you want to work at New Process Gear, Chrysler. You want to work at GM, the car plant. Then she pulled up mine. Television news anchor? What? Let me tell. I don't know who wrote this down, but let me hold up the classified ads right here. Do you see television news anchor? No, nurses. You know, the Chrysler plant. You know, electrical engineers. Blah, blah, blah. Do you see television news anchor here on the classified ads? What's needed? Employment ad. And I was all red faced. You will never make it. Whoever wrote that, you will never make it. That's a ridiculous. I went out of there and I was like, I am going to prove her wrong.
Yeah. And Christy, remind everybody what you do.
And it made me more determined than ever.
Remind everybody what you do. Is it?
Yes.
Remind everybody what you do again. You're a what?
I'm a television news anchor.
Yeah. She's a television news anchor.
But yeah,
right?
Sometimes it can also light a fire in you and make
of
that,
course.
being Italian, just
listen.
Don't even push me like that.
I heard it all the time. You're never gonna make it. But in the essence of this episode, that wasn't coming from my parents. My father actually always said to me, nobody has to agree with your dream, but you have a right to have your dream. That's what he used to say to me. And that really, as I got older, that made a lot of sense. Right? It's like, don't let anybody tell you what you can't chase down. All right. You'll never. I always joke. I did make the NHL because I got to work there for several years. But that's my joke. But yeah, no, they fueled me because of my parents messaging at home, which was don't let that stop. You're going to hear it. You're always going to hear you're never going to make it. And the farther you go, you're going to hear it more and more and more. Yeah. All right. Really, the farther you go, the worse that gets.
Yeah. Yeah,
so you better prepare your kids.
I did have a lot of support from my parents and my dad especially. Yeah, he was a butcher, and there were 6 of us, and he would look at the 6 of us and say, "I have 6 hams," and he'd point to me. But that's the ham who could never be cured. You need to be a television news anchor.
I love it. Well, listen, this has been a great episode. The big lesson from the show today, my biggest takeaway, was if you lie to get out of work, don't post on social media. Don't go to Wayne Gretzky's restaurant. That was the big one that I learned today, Christy. Yeah, I can't do the news tonight.
Oh man, I got in trouble that day.
It's okay.
Or if you want to get out of work on Thursday, Friday for hockey, be in hockey.
Mike, that's the problem you and I have, right? Like I always love. What are you doing this weekend?
What, you can't leave on a Wednesday? What the hell's the problem? Let's go.
I always tell people, Mike, in our line of work, and Christie, you'll appreciate this because you're doing what you love too. I don't take for granted what we get to do, right? And I tell people, it's very hard to hear me complaining about being in a hockey rink, even if it's the 20th rink I've been in that week, because it's like you gotta keep the perspective here, right? Like I'm doing what I love. Doesn't mean we don't need breaks, but yeah. Again, don't lie to your bosses. It's not usually great. Christie's still a television news anchor, though. All right.
Yeah, and a hockey mom.
And a hockey mom. Eternally, right? Through this show, Our Kids Play Hockey. All right. Great episode. Great conversation. I always love these episodes because sometimes they go a little wonky and left and right, up, down, forward, backwards.
This was a fun one.
But it was a fun one. So that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Remember, if you have a question or a topic you want us to discuss, and in my travels now, I'm meeting a lot of you. You come up to me and say, Mike has this too, Christie. I love your show. I would love for you to talk about this. Send those over to us. Email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. We will even mention your name on the air if you want us to. Or you can text us. Several of you have. There's a link accompanying the episode in the show description. If you tap that, you can text us an idea as well. We love you guys so much. This audience just grows and grows and grows and grows, and reminding everybody out there, you're not crazy. The hockey world's crazy. For Christie Casciano Burns, Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. We'll see you on the next Our Kids Play Hockey. Everybody, take care. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.